Decline of education in Pakistan. Complete essay. Outline. Introduction. The scenario of education in Pakistan. Comparison with other countries. 2. Factors that decline in education. First, administrative factors. Second, poor examination system. Number third, booty mafia. Other factors that decline the education system in Pakistan: social and lingual factors, disparity between Urdu and English mediums, the lingual imperialism of English, privatization of social conflict, economic crisis of the country, cause of decline in education. Third, measures to be taken for elevation of the education sector. First, increase the expenditure. Second, private-public partnership. Third, support of international organizations like World Bank and UNO. Fourth, focus on technical and vocational education. Fifth, focus on higher education. Sixth, implementation of new education policy 2009. 7. Highly skilled workforce, a step forward. 8th, exchange of ideas with neighboring countries. Last conclusion. Decline of education in Pakistan. Pakistan's education sector has remained at the lowest level both in standard and allocation in budget by the government. Presently, the literacy rate in Pakistan is 57% with 2% of the GDP, gross domestic product, spent on this sector. Though India has world's largest illiterate population of any nation on the earth, but its education sector cannot be said to be in decline, with a 74% literacy rate in 2011 from 12% at the end of the British rule in 1947. Source: Wikipedia. China's situation in education is also greatly better than that of Pakistan. The UNICEF report of 2004 to 2008 tells that China's youth 15 to 24 years have 99% of the literacy rate, while the CIA World Factbook report that 1.9% of GDP is spent on education sector in China. A small percentage of GDP can have 99% of literacy rate in China. Then why Pakistan is standing far behind? Even Iran has the literacy rate of 80% in 2007. This sharp contrast with the neighboring countries in literacy rate has risen various questions as to how and why our education sector still resting somewhere in decline even after 64 years. Various questions need to be answered as far as the decline in education is concerned. The administrative infrastructure in the education sector in Pakistan has remained inefficient and weak enough to fulfill the requirements of the globalized world. The traditional definition of the literacy is described as the ability to read and write correctly and think critically about some printed material. And the 21st century globalized world asks for a change and advanced dimension to the culture of information and knowledge. But the quality of education in Pakistan cannot cope with the increasing challenges of today's world. Basic reason is considered as weak physical infrastructure of the educational institutions, especially of the public sector. The quality of existing learning environment is evident from the fact that a large number of schools are missing basic infrastructure facilities, i.e. 32.7 school up to elementary level. 32% are without boundary walls, 33.6 without drinking water facility, 35.4 without latrines, and around 60% schools are without electricity. Soros Economic Survey of Pakistan 2010 to 11. With this kind of weakness in infrastructure, the education sector discourages the learners to get educated in a conducive environment, thus decline the standard of education at all levels. Another factors behind decline in education is the below average examination system and assessment process for the students. The examination system in Pakistan, both at school and higher education level, is impractical. The the question paper, external assistance, and the smuggling of unauthorized material, ghost centers, and the irregulation of supervision staff along with illegal ways of getting higher mark are getting better merit numbers. With this kind of menace, the absolute evaluation of the students become doubtful, which gives way to frustration and a sense of deprivation among the unprivileged class. People in power do discriminate. Nepotism is worshipped. Example of which is the case of Chief Justice of Pakistan in recent past years, who got her daughter extra marks. According to an estimate, this action deprived lakh female students on their right. Not only are these kinds of inappropriate actions equal to playing with education, decline in education is inevitable with this kind of attitude. Although a Muslim acquiring education is considered as religious obligation for every man and woman, yet the administrative weakness in our country have served the corrupt powerful class to manipulate the system to suit their purposes. In a hadith, it is clearly mentioned, seeking knowledge is mandatory for every Muslim. Decline in education is also the fallout of the booty mafia in the examination centers. This mafia is a nuisance and causes sense of deprivation among less privileged section of society. The word mafia has its roots as shadowy as its present day operation. It may also be called as the mob, the syndicate, or the national network of organized crime. The booty mafia is one of the common practices in our examination system, as most of the superintendents serving in the examination center are afraid of the police. That's why they don't register the FIR against UMC unfair means cases. The posting of corrupt officer against the post of chairman, controller of exam, and the secretaries in exam board, though nepotism and political maneuvering and merit of powerful are the reason of booty mafia. Fake degrees are another humor of our education system. In the recent past, the member of National Assemblies of Pakistan hold fake degrees, got public and the private electronic media especially. What remains the purpose of qualifying exam if the degrees can be brought or obtained by other means, and if the people representative are holding fake degree, what level of trust a common will have on the education system? Various social and ideological factors have significantly contributed in the decline of education sector of Pakistan. Our society predominantly consists of conservative social class, which has their own mores and norms. At times, out of these social aspects and customs, the families do not tend to send their female to the educational institution, especially in the rural and remote areas. Getting their female admitted in co-educational institution is another issue. Even some families do not let their females study for middle classes, though they may be dwelling in urban societies. According to the Economic Survey of Pakistan 2010 to 11, the male literacy rate in Pakistan is 69.5%. Rather, of female, it is 44.7%, 2008 to 9. Rather, in rural areas, the literacy rate for males is 80.2%, and for female, it is 65.5%. The basic reason for this disparity between male and female rate is the conservative social behavior of the people. This disparity results in decline of standards of education. Education across the country as a female consists of more than a half population of Pakistan. Unless both genders contributed in mainstream of life on equal footings, how the country can be put on the road of enlightenment? It is declared in Quran, verily the worst kind of beasts in the sight of Almighty Allah are those deaf and dumb people who do not think use their intellect. The disparity between the male and the female education is one cause of decline in education, while disparity between languages, especially English and Urdu, is another crucial factor in the current decline of education in Pakistan. The disparity between Urdu and English medium educational institutions in Pakistan are the source of creating two distinct poles in the education sector. English language has long been associated with the expansion of English from its homeland in England and the lowlands of Scotland. The Britishers' influence with their expanding empires across the world in the colonial area is the primary reason for the initial spread of English far beyond in UK. Following the World War II, the increased economic and cultural influence of the US led to English perforating for many other cultures, chiefly through development of telecommunication technology. In Pakistan, the private education sector is majorly dominated with an English culture. This has turned into an English linguistic imperialism, even though we have been made a free nation since 64 years. Dr. Robert Philipson defines English linguistic imperialism as the dominance asserted and maintained by establishment and continuous reconstitution of structure and cultural inequalities between English and other languages. English language prevails and maintains its domination in post-colonial context in Pakistan as far as the education sector is concerned. The linguistic imperialism has resulted in creating a sharp class distinction between those who are afford the English-based education and those cannot. A lopsided social and cultural fabric is the direct outcome of disparity in education. English language in Pakistan's education sector has become an essential tool for getting advanced level of knowledge, as this may not find in the national language Urdu. English language prepares the student for exam offered by foreign universities in order to get higher jobs in multinationals. This has led to high competition among different social class of people, and everybody want to provide good education, which is definitely an English medium education to one's progeny. This has created an acute class conflict. The society in Pakistan has been divided into two distinct classes living in their own respective worlds. One almost breathing in the 21st century Western society, and other try to just survive in the condition of yore. This kind of conflict in the education sector has made Pakistani society confront strong forces of orthodoxy, religious ethnicity, linguistic loyalties versus the need and the urge to be more powerful. According to an estimate, Pakistan is the ninth largest English-speaking nation in the world and the third in Asia. The tough competition among the classes to get the English medium education causes declines standard as the various mediums and the levels of qualities of education sector, creating a social imbalance. Still, another factors behind this decline in education are the deteriorating standards of the education in the public institution, while giving way to ever increasing expenses of the private education system. Ever since the privatization of the institution in Pakistan since 1999 took place, these increasing rates of the private educational institution have launched a kind of a cutthroat competition among masses to get their children admitted in highly expensive and quality, as it is third private institutions in Pakistan. According to an estimate, 1999 to 2009, private provision multiplied almost threefold from 36,000 schools to over 90,000 at primary and secondary level, spreading across the urban and rural areas. Private provision in Pakistan is seen to be providing a choice for even poor families. The linguistic imperialism of English has rendered the society always striving to get education from private English medium institutions. Though it so happens at times that several private educational institutions are just grabbing heavy amounts from parents of their students, and that in the name of English-based education, which gives a sense of superiority to every class of Pakistani society. An education report in 2008 in Pakistan estimates that 22% of children in school going age 5 to 16 years in rural areas are enrolled in private schools. That might be the reason that government also took certain measures to collaborate the private and the public sector of education. This is a fact that given the resources, people send their children to private institutions. The website Wikipedia claimed that HEC in Pakistan Higher Education Commission recognized 132 institutions in Pakistan. Out of them, 73 are public universities and 59 are private. While between 1983 to 2000, the number of private primary and secondary schools in Pakistan increased tenfold from 3,300 to 32,000. This is a surprising statistics that this much growth of the private sector education is faster than the population of the school-aged children. The mushroom growth of private institutions, especially schools with inappropriate learning environment, has caused manipulation of education. The economic crisis has caused much damage to the standard of education sector. For getting expensive education in private institutions, the parents of the students have to maintain a dignified economic status, which is a hard nut to crack, especially for those belonging to the middle class. The owner of the private institutions, especially of schools, open up the school in appropriate premises just for the sake of earning money. The ever-increasing unemployment, poverty, and inflation rates have compelled various people to manipulate education as providing education in Pakistan is a convenient source of earning a reasonable livelihood. According to the Economic Survey of Pakistan 2010 and 11, the unemployment increased by 5.5 and 5.6 in 2009 and 10 and 2010 and 11 respectively, while the cumulative increase in inflation is 14%, 14.1% in July, April 2010 and 11. With these alarming figures, the survey states that the real GDP gross domestic product growth rate is 2.4 compared to 4.5, which is a targeted figure. This menace on the front of economic have hurdled the way of the education to get improvement as the teachers are also victimized by social and economic issues. This conflict rendered them unable to impart quality education with motivation and professionalism. This decline of education certainly needs some remedies to get elevated. The most significant step in elevating the education sector would be to ensure a remarkable increase in the expenditure on the education. The policy documents are blank on this question of what extraordinary things are going to happen which enable Pakistan to raise the expenditure on education. From 1972 to 2009, level of spending remained significantly unpredictable. Given this disappointing trajectory, increasing public expenditure on education to 70% of the GDP would be nothing less than a miracle, but it is not going to be of a goodly nature. Unless Pakistan adopts an unconventional approach towards education, this sector cannot reach its desired destination. Education should be treated as special sector by immunizing budgetary allocation and securing it from fiscal stress and political or economic instabilities. Allocation for education should not be affected by squeezed fiscal space and surge in military expenditure or debts. At the same time, there is need to debate other options about how Pakistan can invent the miracle of raising education expenditure to 7% of GDP by 2015 as the government pledges to. The government sector of education should have collaboration with the private sectors in order to ensure the provision of the quality education to non-privileged classes of the society. The Education Sector Reforms Action Plan 2001, 2002, 2005, 2006 prioritized the provision of primary and elementary education to all children and provided incentives to public-private partnership PPPs to flourish the education sector. It is hopeful sign that due to government favorable approach to private participation in education, large number of institutions not only flourished but also catered to socio-economically disadvantaged rural and urban poor. In Balochistan, Punjab, and Sindh, the World Bank is supporting the low-cost private sector through education foundations to expand access to education in districts with large number of out-of-school children. These are good omens, but much more is required to make the quality education a possibility for all. The international organization should come forward in supporting Pakistan to come out of this decline of education. The United Nations organization needs to take effective measures in vertically enable the less privileged class to acquire education as their basic right. This act will certainly ensure the decrease in corruption and criminal activities in our society. The corruption done by the World Bank is noteworthy in this regard. Since 2004, World Bank has been supporting the education sector's reforms in Pakistan, though development policy created operation in Pakistan for the poor. This promotes public financial reforms and devolution of roles to local communication, making us service providers more accountable. World Bank analysts support for higher education sector has been complete and high education sector programs is under preparation. Work is also underway to support college sector reforms. These remedies may at least enable Pakistan to decrease brain drain as many students move abroad for the sake of quality education from Western countries. The reform program also increased teacher proficiency development, textbook development, assessment with a view of improved students' learning and the classroom environment, along with monitoring of the student learning through regular assessment. This is happening with a national educational assessment system supported by the World Bank. The government of Pakistan must also take prompt actions to impart technical and vocational education, as it is necessary to make the education match able with the growing advancement in the field of technology all over the world. NEVTEC, National Vocational and Technical Education Commission, is a regulatory body responsible for promoting linkages among various state stakeholders to address challenges faced by technical and vocational educational training. TVET. This include training and skill enhancing at individual level and initiating a mega campaign at public-private partnership. Novitech especially focuses on group, disadvantaged group to economically disadvantaged region. The most exciting figure of Novitech is to enhance the employability of youth and supporting women to participate in labor force more actively. Today, the rate of women participation is only 29%, which is far less than other regional countries. Sources: Economic Survey of Pakistan 2010 to 2011. This rate should be essentially increased in order to raise the potential of women to income in the mainstream of life. For elevating the current decline of education in Pakistan, the other For elevating the current decline of education in Pakistan, the other most crucial step should be focused. The higher education should, in this age of globalization, plays an important role in making economy-based knowledge. It works as a driving force in the development process of a country and bring intellectual capital and technological changes, making economy more competitive and innovative by reshaping human capital with other skill and expertise. Higher Education Commission is an autonomous body to provide inter-university cooperation and coordination. It is not a good sign that due to continued financial vulnerabilities, the government has reduced the development budget to Rs 9.2 billion in 2010 and 11 compared to Rs 11.3 billion in 2009 and 2010. Economic Survey. The development budget for education should be increased, especially for higher education, which is a major source of development of Pakistan. In this regard, Education Policy 2009 is an important factor. The government of Pakistan must take the new education policy NEP 2009 effectively. This policy calls for an increased access to higher education for the youth of age grouped between 17 to 23 years from the existing 5% to 10% by the year 2015. It is a major challenge for Higher Education Commission HEC and would require continuous support and generous funding for the federal government in the upcoming years. During 2000 to 2010, there were 868,641 students studying in these universities. This is a satisfactory figure, but the new education policy 2009 should be made practical, removing all the impediments of the way. The government must ensure that whatever the measures have been laid on the policy are effectively implemented in the whole education system of the country, as only the proper work does not produce result. For this purpose, a highly skilled workforce will be required to meet the required ends. Highly skilled workforce has become a basic need to meet the challenges of contemporary era, which is all about competitiveness and efficiency. Human development must be the first and foremost objective of the education in Pakistan, as only the curriculum-based education yes produces rote memories. It is important to note that higher education sector has been playing essential role in human resource development to support the economy of the country by contributing in workforce of approximately 400,000 universities graduates every year. During 2005 to 2009, the data shows 30% increase in total graduates output from the universities and the degree awarding institutes DAIE, DIEs during above mentioned period. Since 2002, Higher Education Commission has sent about 4,313 scholars in the technical advanced countries for research degrees such as MPhil and PhD. Out of these, 1,214 have completed and returned to the country economic survey. Further measures are to be taken to take the human development possible in the literal sense. It is said that crisis in economics or a trade deficit comes about when the nations import too many foreign goods. In culture and education, nations experience a deficit when they import too few. That's actually happened with the education sector in Pakistan. The government should make it a permanent program of the education policies and the programs to exchange the technical and the cultural learning from the friendly neighboring countries, especially the Muslim countries. The scholarship should be offered to the students coming from neighboring countries to ensure that students of different countries are having ecological and effective the neighboring countries to ensure that students of different countries are having a congenial and productive interaction with the world outside. It is praiseworthy that Minister of Education is running a number of scholarship schemes for different target groups. This includes 100 scholarship to Bangladeshi, 200 to students from Indian occupied Kashmir, and 2,000 to students from Afghanistan. These are pleasing steps of the government, but this act must be expanded to another neighboring countries as well, which will also increase the scope of Pakistani students as well. We are living in a digital area where the dimension of learning and knowledge have been multiplied manifold. We cannot just skip into the world through a narrow window of knowledge. Today, world demands a wider perspective and enlightened intellectual way of life. Pakistani's education sector needs to cope with it, which may not be a possibility, but require the struggle which can go out of the conventional way of the country. 64 years have taught the Pakistani nation a bitter reality that without investing both financially and intellectually in the education sector will keep on going disappointing figures. With the decline in education, the track of the modern world can be bumpy. This creates a vicious circle with the alarming poverty ratio and unemployment as the direct fallout, and then again as the cause of the decline in education. Elevation of education sector is not only the need of the heart for the country, but also essential to fulfill the MDGs, Millennium Development Goal in their later sense.